episode of Dazed and Infused. I'm Latham Woodward, your host, as always, proudly presented by Perfect Union. And today, actually, we have one of Perfect Union's GMs, the GM of Sacramento Northside, Jared Elarmo. Welcome to the show, Jared.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Totally. It's great to have you here. And I was reading through your bio. You all went to Southern Oregon College or University, and I went to University of Oregon, so we have that in common. And you actually worked for one of my favorite pizza places, Mod Pizza, at one point.
Yep, I was with them for multiple years. I was really blessed to get in, and I was with their Northern California side of this. So anything north of the Bay Area, all the way up into the tip of Oregon is us. So
Right
I got
on.
hands in all those. So it was a great opportunity for me to really hone in on a lot of skills that passed over into my current role.
Right on. Well, I didn't. This is not an advertisement for Mod Pizza, by the way, but a great store, and I love their ethos. We're gonna start at the show like we start at every show, and that's what's your historical relationship to cannabis? How did you come to it?
Um, so like many individuals, when I was younger, I grew up here in Northern California. Cannabis is a big part, I think, of the culture here in California. In high school, I kind of came into it, but I played varsity football from a young age, and so a lot of the older guys were already doing it. So it was kind of part of the culture that I kind of came into. So it started just as a little recreational use then, but then as I got older and started to play college football and get into college, I noticed that the benefits medicinally for me were huge. They were trying to push us on to a ton of pain pills and anti-inflammatories and all these other things that it just were killing our bodies. So for many of us, we made that decision that cannabis was going to be the switch over for us. So that's really where that tied in. It just held true to me. I have a son who is autistic. And so he became a patient when he was very young. He was nonverbal. So we started to do some CBD and THC therapies with him after he became a patient. And he started to speak within 6 months of us doing the therapies along with his speech and occupational. So for me, cannabis has a huge tie. It helped his sleep patterns. He used to grind his teeth all the way down. So all these things that cannabis helped to alleviate, and so I just have an extreme passion for the plant.
A great answer because I've had some pro football players on the show, and they've also said about, the trainers coming down the plane aisle after a game and going, "What do you need?" And just getting out the bag of pills. And, it's all about getting doped up and better so you can play the next day. But that's not necessarily the right course, is it?
No, it isn't. And I was blessed. I originally started my career at Fresno State, and I got hurt. And so, I bounced around a little bit, ended up at Southern Oregon University. But through that whole piece, I got to see all the way from the big D1s all the way to a small school and what that entailed. And I will tell you, it was the doctors were all the same. It was all to get you to play the next day. What can we do to keep you on the field and keep you profitable for the universities?
Right. And I love your other answer too about your son, who unfortunately has autism, but it looks like you're, on the right path here. I've had Americans for Safe Access on the show before, and their representative that talked to me that day told me about her son, also nonverbal, and how it's changed her life entirely. And I'm sure that's it's changed your life too. And these are the messages that the general public and the non-cannabis using group needs to hear. Honestly, they need to hear about these things because these are real. They're not apocryphal stories. I'm hearing right from you, a dad who has an issue with their son, and they're treating that issue in a non-pharmaceutical or non-pharma method. And I applaud you for that. And I'm glad you're getting results, by the way, too.
Thank you.
So as a GM of a dispensary, and Perfect Union is a sponsor of the show, but it's great that we're talking to you about the challenges. What's the struggle or challenge for you as being a GM in a large dispensary?
Um, Obviously, high volume gets its own challenges, brings up its own challenges. So I think there's so many pieces to it. What I think the biggest challenge is creating teams, getting people to understand that you can't do it all on your own, and it's all about creating a teamwork atmosphere that you guys work as a well-oiled machine all together. Your strengths and weaknesses, when matched together, are what make you great. And so that's really, I think, what the challenge is do you have that leadership skill to be able to lead your people in the right direction, even when it's the hard decisions, and teaching them how their weaknesses with their strengths work together, and how you guys can create such a great team. And it's usually the yin and yang, right? So it's two different personalities, people, all these things. So the abilities to help them communicate and get them to really buy in together on this common theme, I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we have. But when you do it right, it is amazing. And the profit margins and all those things, the return on your investment on those things are so amazing. So that's really where we focus on, is really the people.
It sounds like you brought a lot of the messaging and a lot of the training from football into this. It really does. It sounds like you have taken all of those lessons and applied them to the team building and the team leadership and listening and those kind of aspects to enhance the bottom line, basically. Would you agree?
Definitely. It's always I think what I really think about is the ROI a lot. Your return on your investments, I think are really big for me. You're going to get that bottom line up when you are able to get those people to really invest, and really work on becoming the best versions of themselves. And that's a real big focus. It's a harder way of leadership. And I explain that to everyone that comes into my teams. It's like,
Hmm.
hey, you have to be really invested. And that's kind of what we do through the interview process as well. So our big piece is I ask how invested they are into the plant, into cannabis. What aspect does it have play a role in your life, and all those things? Because here it's really big. Everyone that is within our concept in the organization have all extreme ties, not only to the plant but to this team. And so that's, I think, what really drives the business, is that team atmosphere. And you are absolutely right. I think sports is a great platform to teach a lot of skills that then pass over into all different aspects of your life. And I think there is some of that bad rap on a lot of athletes that all they are good at is playing a sport, and all those things. When in the reality of it, when I got to that next level, I got in front of some of the most intelligent individuals I've ever been a
Sure.
part of. And so they really taught me a lot of not only leadership skills, but also just how to have grit and determination
Yeah.
through all the tough times. I tell people I learned more between those lines that cross over into my life as a father, as a business leader, and all those things. So to me, I'm just very thankful that I had those opportunities to really strengthen those skills during those time periods.
Yeah. Great answer. Oh, by the way, when you're watch out when you're touching the table there. It's moving the camera.
Oh, I'm
Makes it
so
look
sorry.
like an earthquake going on. So, I definitely get that. It's like a difference between the current leadership at Colorado with Deion Sanders and his kind of wacky way of leading a team. And then you compare that to like Steve Kerr of the Warriors, and you're like, well, that's a real team, you know? It's a really good thing. Um, what's your best seller right now? Is it
So our in-house brands are really doing really, really well. So 5G is one of our award-winning brands. So they do really well. Red Dragon is a staple that we've had, and we've won awards with that strain. And it's our great sativa, great daytime smoke. So I think with our growth of that brand, it really drives this business. So we've always known that. That's why it's always been a staple in our daily specials,
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff, because it really drives the business. And we brought back home a lot of our growers that once started with us, and I think that was the big thing that we've changed. Is I know you interviewed with Tom, and he spoke of it. We went back to our roots. We got really lean. We brought back the individuals that really understood the culture and heartbeat of what Perfect Union was. And with that, I think now you're seeing that big turn with 5G. We've expanded the SKUs that we have for the brand. And so I really, it's really one of those things that we are hanging our hat on right now, and we're really excited in the future to see how far we can really push that brand and that lineup.
Right on. And I just recently interviewed Anna Wiley from Cam, and I believe you guys carry a lot of hers. Is Red Dragon one of her strains?
So they do not currently that I have seen. That I've not seen her run Red Dragon.
Oh,
But we do. We just partnered with them a week ago. They had a cam takeover, and so we do. I think that's a big thing that we have now done as well. It's that partnership with brands. The tie-in with both of us going at the same goal, just like our teams. What I tell vendors and brands that really want to be successful in the cannabis industry, it's really that tie-in with the bud tenders and with the people at the ground level that make a huge push. We see the brands that come in and I know you spoke of this on some of them because I was listening to some of your podcasts. When they do their demos, right,
mhm.
and they're out on the floor and they're speaking to our patients and guests. I think that makes a huge difference for their brand to gain some traction. And it also helps because it gives the bud tenders a face and also a kind of a heartbeat of what their culture of their brand is as well. And so
Yeah.
that really helps. So I think just like anything in life, right? It's the teamwork aspect of this. Us working together is going to make a huge difference in how that brand sells and the traction that you get, your sell through, all those things.
Yeah, I get that because I used to do demos myself when with my brands. And for 4 years I was out there doing it and meeting guys like you, interacting with the bud tenders so they understand the product. And also that this helps them really tell the client what those brands are, and what their ethos is. So that was well said because it's really hard with the amount of brands out there to get in, really to make a lasting impression, especially with a consumer. And if your bud tenders really like what they're doing in terms of selling good products, they dig it too. It makes it their job easier. And you guys have basically an open sales floor model, right? You
Yes, sir.
let anybody can look at anything really. Your clients are encouraged to do that, correct?
Yeah, so we're really trying to get this to a more traditional sales model, and that's what we wanted to go. We wanted you to come in; it'd be like your traditional retail experience, right? When you come into most dispensaries, and I started back in the 215 era, where it was there was always someone watching over you. You walk in, it was very tight, and it didn't feel the most inviting most of the time. And
Right.
it's one of the experiences that we took as an organization. We wanted to change that experience, and we've changed our model multiple times throughout my time period here. But what I can tell you is this model is a wonderful model. The open sales floor creates such a great conversational piece for a lot of the vendors, bud tenders, and guests. I think in that experience in alone is why we have really seen a huge jump, and it really just creates an atmosphere that I think is fun, and that's the most important thing. I think when people are having a good time and they're leaving with a smile on their face, your team's happy. I think that you're going to see all those KPIs really jump, and I'm a firm believer behind that. That's why you invest in your people, you invest in your concept.
Tell the people at home what a KPI is.
It's a key performance indicator.
There
So,
you go.
as a business leader, it's one of those things that we really take a look at. And one of the things that I think is really interesting is we don't have a KPI for culture or for the energy that your store or shop or whatever it is that your business does. And for me, coming from the restaurant, I also came from health and fitness. We used to always say the door test, right? When you opened up a door, you could hear the life come out of
Sure.
any type of business. And so we really try and focus on that vibe. When you pop open that door, you should feel the energy just jump out of that room. And I think that's what makes Perfect Union really special.
That's another very strange connection between you and I because I was in manufacturing for 27 years. And I always used to say to people like, well, how do you know if you're doing well? It's like when I come in my shop at 7 o'clock in the morning and my 42 employees are not saying anything and I hear machines running, I'm making money. You know, that's the key. You gotta know where it is, and that's your KPI right there. Also, I think there's things like you had a 49% increase in Green Wednesday from 2022 to 2023. That's a very big markup. Is that just because of your presence, or do you think it's a lot to do with your customer service?
I think it's the team that we have created. Everyone that is in this concept has, like I said, has really bought in. This has been a lot of groundwork. A lot of us have been here for years, and I think that is kudos to Perfect Union, right? They've kept us around. They keep everyone really happy. We've all really worked really hard for this. And so this is the fruition of all that hard work, right? And I tell the teams this all the time. You never know when that hard work's going to pay off. So that's why you just keep on grinding, keep on chugging through, because there was a tough time. 2022, it was a tough year for, I think, everyone in our business,
Oh yeah.
right? It was one of those weird jumps. Everyone was getting free money for a long time here in the state of California, which then that made the sales influx and increase so much. But I think the good business leaders knew that the bottom was going to fall out at some point, and how you bounce back from that is really big. And I think what we did from a leadership standpoint was awesome. And they really focused on, hey, we need to really focus on getting our people back, and focus on the guests and our teams and what we can do to get better. And through that process, we were able to now see what we're doing now. There was a lot of failures through all this piece, and that's what I try and tell people. Success isn't a straight shot, right? It's there's the ups and downs that you go through, and that's one of the things that I really hang my hat on, is that we are creating an infrastructure that is going to be a lasting profitable business, and that starts from the top to bottom with how we deal with every situation, having intention in everything that we do here in the business.
Yeah, and it's really your performance in the downtimes that really shows your spirit, and your business ethos is strong, because in the downtimes, if you're still succeeding, but the economy might not be doing well, but you're still performing to the best of your ability, and you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, you got something good, right? It's not always the high times that tell you when it's something good, because the rest of the economy could be doing well, and so it's not necessarily an indicator. It's those medium to down times, the normal times, where you really shine. You guys also offer a number of discounts, and I'll let you outline those. I think you to veterans, seniors, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so we have student, veteran, and senior discounts that we have. We have loyalty programs where they can earn on every dollar that they spend. And then we do daily deals. And I think that's one of the things that has really set us apart, that we really worked hard on. We used to have a model that we had only one daily deal for each day. And now that model has changed for us throughout our time. Now we have multiple brands that go on sale that'll last for the whole month. And I think that really has in turn helped with the sales, right, and our marketing and all that kind of stuff. So I really kudos to our team. They figured out a model that really works in our market, and in a ton of the other markets that we are in. And so it's one of those things that I really feel like you got to listen to the heartbeat of the businesses, right?
Hmm.
Look at look, you got to look at your sales and what is selling, and then really hone in on what the guest needs. And I think that's what we've done here. And so with that, you see the retention of the guests, and then we're seeing a ton of new guests as well, just because people are liking that. The team here in marketing has done an amazing job of figuring that out. We're doing an advent calendar
Ah,
for Christmas. So every single day we have something that's going on sale at 50%, which has been an extreme success. And so I can't rave enough about what we do here, and the teams that do every piece of the business. Everyone goes really hard, which makes it that culture piece of that makes it really easy, right, to come to work, because you see everyone working hard, everyone's grinding,
yeah.
and it makes it so that it's contagious. So when you walk into the buildings, and no matter what location you go into, that's what you're going to get.
Cool. And with 11 days left to Christmas, this is being recorded on the 14th of December, 2023. And with 11 days left, your advent calendar can be filled up with some deals at Perfect Union. Let's just deal with a little small subject that I've talked to a lot of people about in the last 4 years, and that is the potency problem,
Mhm.
right? And just a lot of brands constantly pushing potency rather than quality entourage. What do you tell your bud tenders? What's the instruction level? I know you've got great bud tenders and they're well trained. I talked to Angelica Sanchez about it, and it's a really good program. But what's from your perspective? What do you tell your guys on the front line or girls on the front line?
So, with our teams, we really speak to them of education, right? It's educating our guests, our patients, that it isn't all about the percentages. You're absolutely the entourage. I tell people all the time, some of the best flour I got was 12% knocked my socks off.
Yeah,
And so I really think it just depends on the cannabinoids, the terpene profiles for which you're mixing, and then everyone's a little bit different. And I think that's what people do not understand is that your endocannabinoid system within your each individual is a little bit different, right? So each strain is going to affect everyone a little bit different. So I tell people you got to track those things. It's kind of like food or anything else if you want to be serious about it, right? I know there are certain strains that my body really reacts really well to. And I try and keep those strains in my repertoire so that if I ever have these feelings that I need to adjust or anything like that, I can then smoke that strain that helps me with that issue. So for me, I think that's the education piece of how we educate our guests, talk to them. And so that's why when you talk to Angelica, we really focus a lot on bud tender training. We want these guys to be able to give great direction to each individual that comes in the building. And so that's a real big focus for us.
that's great. I mean, and for those of you listening or watching on YouTube, if you are a new user and you're getting good advice as to and you're experimenting a little with the different strains, you may want to keep a journal and see which
Yeah.
ones work for you and which ones don't, especially if you're a new user or a readopter or you're just experimenting. Um, you buy an eighth, or a small quantity, and then experiment and see if that's the one for you, and keep that journal. And then when you go back in, you're going to have a two-way conversation with the bud tender about what works for you. And that's important because not everybody likes a heavy indica and not everyone likes a sativa. And some people just go down the middle of the road with hybrid. So you really have to kind of be part of the solution for your own health issues. Jared, we're almost at that time in the show when I got to ask you my pretty much my final question of you, and that's tell the audience a Stony story. Everybody's got one. It might be about you, your grandma, your aunt, your uncle, your dad, or somebody you don't want to name, but the story's funny. You got one for us?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, I have a ton.
Everybody does, but come on, tell us one.
I think one of my great stories that I have. My wife's family is all from Texas,
Mhm.
and so different culture piece than what I grew up with here in California. And so I've grown up in the cannabis industry, and so when I first met my wife. Met her family, all that good stuff. They had never known anyone that was a cannabis enthusiast, that someone that was in the business or any of that. And so just that indoctrinating them into what we are and how we operate and all those things. I remember one time I was sending emails and my mother-in-law looked over my shoulder and she saw I had accidentally left it open and it was all these different strains and price points and pictures. And her face when
Uh,
she saw it, because I just left it on the table, it was up on my computer, and she goes, "What do you do?" And I just had to explain to her, hey, here in California, this is a total legal market, and just so from to go from there to where we are now, where when she comes into town, I mean, she has she sees me smoking all the time. She laughs about all the things that she once thought were so strange. When I wake up in the morning, my cup of coffee is a bong rip. And so that whole change of that demeanor,
yeah.
everything that is associated with that, she has changed. So for me, I love that education piece of showing people that cannabis users are they can be so driven and do so many great things. I think getting away from that negative connotation that you cannot be successful as long as you use cannabis and all those things. Listen, I played in a sport all the way through for 17 years, had tryouts professionally, went into business and started to do my business thing. So I tell people all the time, it's just, it depends on the individual. If you are driven and you want it and you create your goals and you do all those things and have follow through, you will be successful. But I think that's one of the stories that I really like to tell people.
That's a good one. And I'm sure your Texas mother-in-law viewed you as like a basically a green Martian. You know, so different. Never
Uh,
seen that before.
she had never seen that before. In Texas, it's just a totally different culture. When you grew up here, it's part of who,
Yeah.
in my experience in Northern California, you're going to be around it. I was really blessed I tell people all the time, I didn't realize how spoiled I was growing up in this area. When I moved out of this area, started playing other areas, and saw the medicine that we were getting in other states, I was literally appalled. I could not believe what we get. So I'm just ready for this to be pushed nationally, right? So we can get medicine to every single state, and really get to where this plant should be here in the United States.
Well said. And I have to say that from everything I've seen from the Perfect Union staff, from the top to the bottom, you guys are very solid, and you're the kind of person who would take this thing to the vanguard and really go national with a really good model. You've got the bones for it, and you started out, with the great foundation. So if you're watching this and you're seeing this on YouTube, through our LinkedIn connection, I think that you get some valuable information here about the legitimacy of this business, not just Perfect Union, but the cannabis business as a whole. There's a lot of very serious people, and what we've seen in the last 4 years, a lot of weeding out, so to speak, of the people that didn't really need to be in this business, and now we're seeing the cream rise to the top. Jared Elarmo, GM at Perfect Union, Sacramento Northside. Thanks very much for being here on the show. We really appreciate it, and this show is always brought to you by Perfect Union, as you can see on the screen. But I've been talking to many, many brands, many people over the last 4 years, and I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing, and continued success to you. You look like you're on the right path.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jared. We'll see you again here on Dazed and Infused. Thanks for being here. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.